keeping aside the super cringy Star Wars intro, which I'm not going to even mention, thank you for that, but what am I going to mention? Well, let's see. Solid state drives or SSDs are fantastic, right? It brought a super quick storage performance with lower power consumptions and without the fragile moving parts of mechanical hard drives. But what if you want to go even faster? Well, the absolute fastest storage solution you can have in a desktop rig anyway is a RAM drive, which is just what it sounds like. Setting aside a certain amount of RAM to use as well a really fast drive. So why is RAM so good at this then? You see, part of the reason why we use RAM as the working memory for whatever the computer is doing at a given time instead of using a hard drive or even a regular SSD for that matter is because RAM is extremely fast. This allows the computer to read and write data that it needs to act upon without having to wait around. And the paradigm that it has existed long before the long-term storage became mainstream. In fact, the first RAM drive software came into being all the way back in 1980. So, how fast are we talking about then? Well, depending on your configuration, you can get the sequential read and write speeds in the neighborhood of about 7 to 10 gigabytes per second or more. That's like downloading an entire dual-ray Blu-ray in 5 seconds. Or even if you're not working with massive sequential files like you'd see with audio or video editing and image rendering, you can still get a big performance boost with programs that access small amounts of data very frequently. I mean, think about your web browser's cache, for example, because RAM drives have very low latency or access delay with high ions, the number of operations per second. So how then do you set this up? Well, there are a number of applications that you can find with a quick and easy Google search that can convert free memory into a RAM drive. For you, just tell it how big of a RAM drive you'd like to make assign for a driver letter and you're pretty much good to go after that. Windows will recognize your RAM drive just like it would any other storage device connected to your system. So you'll be free to copy files and install programs to it as you normally would. But even though the system memory is much cheaper these days, there are a lot of other costs associated with storing anything resembling important data on a RAM drive. Anyone who's ever suffered a power outage while they're doing something important on their PC has probably learned the hard way that RAM is what they call volatile. That means that its contents disappear when you power off your system. So some RAM drive utilities will back up the contents of your RAM disk or to a hard drive or a SSD for you periodically. But this will still mean long delays on shutdown while it purges and on boot while the RAM drive fills. So sorry, if you were hoping to store your operating system on a RAM disk, this pretty much destroys that. Unless you're like a computer magician or you buy a super expensive hardware based on RAM disk solution with like battery backup, which is very rare outside of an enterprise setting because of platform. Not to mention cost limitations of RAM disks aren't great for storing tons of stuff. Either most standard unbufferable memory can fit or even the highest customer motherboard these days is 128 gigabytes. And since your operating system and other applications will need some of that space, the largest RAM disk you can comfortably make will be a little bit less than that. But don't let any of that discourage you. If you have got some excess RAM sitting around and you'd like to see how blistering fast you can make your storage experience, this is a fun little science project and there are free ones and possibly even useful for frequently used programs or applications. There are otherwise bottlenecked by drive speed, especially as you can increase read and write speeds even further by overclocking your CPU and RAM or by tightening up your memory timings. However, if you are putting anything resembling to crucial data on your RAM drive, even saving games, okay, anything that's going to waste your time, invest in a UPS for your rig, because I'm sure you don't want your world record speedrun or your taxes or your weird political manifesto wiped out because your cat decided to chew on your power cord. Speaking of chewing things, if you don't want to chew your lip all day finding cool tech videos just like this, then hit the like button and also don't forget to subscribe.